Rewatching Winx Club Season 1 again as an adult is such a strange experience, especially when you notice how little adult presence there actually is in a show that is set in a fairy high school. The Winx, teenagers, mind you, are left entirely on their own to fight off against the forces of evil with little to no protections and guidance from the adults around them. It would be easy to say this is because of bad writing, but I believe it actually highlights something much deeper, which is how authority is portrayed in children's media. Let's get cozy, go grab your crochet, do your dishes, fold your laundry, whatever it is that you do or like doing as you listen to this video, and let us deep dive into the authority figures in Winx Club. I will admit that this video especially is very close and dear to my heart because of the topic. And if you have watched previous videos I have made on Winx Club Season 1, I think you might be able to notice I will get a little bit more fired up and passionate in this one. And that is because I worked as a teacher for a brief moment, less than 2 years, and was a tutor for a few years before that too. So mentoring is something that I find really important. This was the part of the hardest of rewatching Winx Club for me, now that I have worked as a teacher, and honestly the teacher mindset never really left. So every time I watch it and I'm like, what is going on? Why are there no teachers involved? Also, my Asian upbringing definitely is not helping. And I don't know about you, but if I were in the magical universe that is a setting for the Winx Club, I never would have been friends with the Winx. And the reason for that is that they are so reckless and impulsive and do things that make absolutely no sense. And if you have watched my previous video, you know that the only one that makes sense and that is responsible is Tekna, but unfortunately she's not listened to. And that would have been really difficult because I was very much the opposite. I was the straight-laced, always listened to rules. Not that I never broke any, but usually when there was like very good reasons to break them, and that was really rare. The Winx's actions as Asian raised and a teacher, oh, that was something. Honestly, I think you would have laughed at me rewatching Season 1. My best friend will attest to this because I would suddenly, out of nowhere, send her like a huge text, just like detailing all of it. Well, huge text, that's a lie. A huge, well, a long voice message because I am very slow at texting. Just detailing what is wrong in this Winx Club episode that could have been avoided if they had just stopped to think. This actually brings me to my first point, which is that the Winx, or the teenagers in this universe in general, never go to adults for anything when they have a problem, which I'm like, why? That should be your first reflex, respond, especially when you're lost or you don't know what's going on. And unless you have a specific, and you will find what I'm saying right now ironic, unless you have a specific traumatic or bad experience at the very least with adults and authority figures, and would then have, you know, much more difficulty going to an adult and be like, hey, I need your help with this, or there's something that's happening that I don't understand, or, you know, whatever your concern is. So unless there is like a history of that, there is no reason for you not to go to an adult, because that is the automatic reflex for any human being. Now, as I said, you're gonna find this ironic because I was one of these people that actually had trouble going to adults for help because of actually prior experiences where I realized that I couldn't really go to them for help. I would still go to my mom, but, you know, not to my teachers, for example. Back to the Winx. They don't actually have any reason not to go to adults. Bloom is the daughter of a firefighter, and she has a great relationship with her dad too. So you would think, as the daughter of a firefighter, you would do the responsible thing, which is to go to adults. But she is like the opposite. She usually is the one that says with Stella, oh no, let's not involve Griselda, let's not involve Faragunda, let's just wing it. And I'm like, what? So this here, I think, is because of writing in kids' shows, which I have an issue with. Because what kind of lesson are you teaching children? When you have a problem, go deal with it yourself by whatever means is necessary, including intruding into another school's property, which the Winx do. This is a bit weird, and it's not just Winx specific. It's a pattern that you can see in other kids' show too. And yeah, I'm quite uncomfortable with that. It's something else if you go to an adult for help and they turn out to be unreliable, and then you don't ever go to an adult for help ever again. That makes sense. But here you have no prior establishment of unreliable, unresponsible authority figures, you know. If you're still watching this video by now and you haven't been on this channel before, welcome to you new viewers. And also thank you to return viewers for coming here to hang out with me again. I know I will find some of you again in the comments. I always enjoy reading them, so can't wait to find out what you think of this one. So, Becoming Bamboo. This channel is where I share my journey of rewiring the mind, building resilience, finding balance in mind, body and soul, using tools like hypnotherapy, storytelling, or other holistic practices. I hope you will walk this path with me to becoming bamboo. Now, if we discount the fact that this is mostly because of bad writing, I've got quite a long list of grievances, let's say, with the adults and authority figures in Winx Club. We will begin our journey throughout this magnificent sea of events chronologically, actually. Another little parenthesis. Bloom's parents are good parents, good responsible adults. I won't talk about them too much because they actually don't come into play very much in like what I want to say about authority figures that are just useless. And like magical authority figures that are completely useless and are just sending the girls off into danger. Mike and Vanessa are actually the only adults that make sense in Winx Club, so I will talk more about them and their role into Bloom's storyline that unfortunately was handled quite clumsily, but you know, they were still quite good characters. So I will talk about them in Bloom's special episode that will come out somewhere in the near future. So in episode 2 or 3, I can't quite remember, Bloom gets into Alfea without invitation because Stella has an invitation from the Princess of Callisto, but then the Princess of Callisto is not going to Alfea, so she's like, it's fine, you can just lie and pretend you're the Princess of Callisto and just get into Alfea. You know, no one will figure out anything, which is such a bad plan. First of all, let's not criticize Stella's plan and Bloom's decision to follow through with it. My problem comes when the girls are being discovered for this trickery when they come back to Alfea after a fight with the witches. Which, by the way, they don't even mention to Griselda or like Faragunda as, hey, by the way, students from Cloud Tower that aren't first year, mind you. They're like, the tricks aren't first years. The Winx are very much first years. And they got attacked. You know, even though Bloom was being nosy, they still got attacked. Like, unwarranted. And you make no mention of that to the headmistress that warned you about the witches of Cloud Tower. Again, bad writing. This is the moment where, when they should have been, hey, by the way, we got attacked. You know, would have been nice to know by the disciplinary head, Griselda or Faragunda, regardless. So they come back from the altercation with the Tricks and confronted about the lie that, you know, Bloom is not Veranda of Callisto. And then Griselda starts, like, you know, berating her for it, which makes sense, you know, she just lied. She never actually got invited to the school. And then after Bloom's wholesome speech, which, you know, I don't blame Bloom for just being honest about her feelings, Faragunda has this response that I was like, what? Where she's like, Griselda, let's stop here. Because Bloom has shown tenacity, a quality essential to a fairy. So let us just drop this. Over identity theft, mind you. Identity theft. And that's the response. So, you know, Faragunda is seen and is actually written to be liked by the audience, of like, she's the sweet one, she's the gentle one, and you know, Griselda is kind of like the mean one, the mean adult. And I'm like, no, actually, Griselda has a point. Griselda is responsible here. She's actually, you know, about to be like, hey, there are consequences to your actions. You did something that it was illegal. So, you know, it's kind of normal that there's a consequence. And Faragunda's like, meh. That is the first incident where I was like, I think rewatching this is going to be difficult. And I was right. It was going to be difficult for me. If you're enjoying this video, please hit the like button. It really helps with the algorithm. And yes, I'm feeling a bit mischievous right now. The next event happens the next day, when Faragunda announces that there's going to be an exchange event between Alfea and Red Fountain. Classes are cancelled for the day. Mind you, they haven't even had one day of classes yet. The first day was orientation. Second day is cancelled because they're having a party. I'm like, what kind of school is this that there's just like no actual lessons happening from the get-go? Like, this is weird. First of all. Second of all, the students are being told not to use magic outside of classes, which like makes no sense because they were always able to use magic before. So now they're not allowed to use it outside in their dormitories. Like, they sometimes just use it to turn on the lights. This makes no sense. It is said, as a rule, do not use magic outside of the classroom. And then, you know what? We're going to have a party. We're inviting Red Fountain. So now I'm counting on you, the students, to decorate the school. Why are the students tasked to decorate the school using magic, whereas they're not allowed to use magic outside of the classroom? Does anyone else find something weird going on here? And also, like, you're making the students do your own work, because isn't that like the groundkeepers or whoever's his job it is to, or even you, because you're organizing party, you know, like, I'm like, why the students have to? Anyways, on such short notice too, like, this is blowing my mind. Anyways, then that very night, Bloom transforms into a fairy for the first time. Great, amazing. She is fighting the Tricks on her own, and the Winx want to go to help her, but are being stopped by Griselda and Faragunda. And instead of saying, hey, Bloom is being attacked by witches, like, right behind the glass of the reception hall we're in right now. Maybe we should break it off. Maybe we should rescue her. You know, like a normal person would do, but like for some reason the show decided that, yeah, they're teens, so they're never gonna say anything to authority figures, which, no, their friend is in danger, of course they would say something. First problem. And then secondly, reception hall. Bay windows made out of glass. A fight with fire, ice. Stormy, you know, using lightning. You would think they would see something going on. Here, the physics don't make sense. Like, you would, of course you would see something or hear something, but like, no, nothing happens. And this is when I'm like, oh, this is gonna be a tough ride. Yeah. So that was the second incident in my long list of issues with authorities not been doing anything and the Winx just having to defend themselves by themselves for no reason. Like, they could have, Bloom could have gotten help. She should have gotten help. You know, like, oh yeah, I forgot to say the whole thing with like the egg situation, same thing. The Winx don't go and say, hey, they're like doing something to the gifts, and just like happen to know the cure, which is great for them, and just do it. I'm like, there are several incidents like this where there are fights, confrontations. I won't list them all because honestly there are quite a few of them, and it's going to get repetitive for you at some point if I just talk about it, because these aren't the only issues I have with authority figures anyway. So let's just skip the rest of incidents of a similar vein and just go to the other issues I have with authority figures in Winx Club. Why is Cloud Tower excluded from the friendship or alliance that Alfea has got with Red Fountain? Especially since like Farragonda and Griffin are like besties. This makes no sense, and this kind of feels like the whole Gryffindor Slytherin rivalry to me that is in Harry Potter. Like, you would think that Alfea as the fairy school would promote the qualities you would associate with fairies of compassion, goodness, whatever. Hold out their hands to the other school. And the other school is like doing some nasty things because they're not invited to like the parties. They're not included. That's not a very fairy-like thing to do. It's not being addressed ever. Also, they never say anything about what makes a fairy or what makes a witch a witch. What's the difference? Apart from fairies being the good guys and the witches being the bad guys. What is the actual difference? Like, until we meet Murta, we don't really know that, oh, there's something about you use like light or positive energy and then you use like more negative energy. But what is the purpose of a fairy? What is the purpose of a witch? What do they do after they graduate? No one says anything about it. And the whole premise of this is Bloom going to fairy school. What's the outcome after fairy school? Like, they don't say anything about it. If you are enjoying this video, subscribe to follow along as more videos like this one come out. When the Winx intrude Cloud Tower, get caught by Griffin, they are being punished by having their powers revoked. Let me repeat. They disrespected their curfew and intruded upon another school's property. They got their powers revoked for a day. Because then they fought some kind of minotaur and they were like, oh, good job, girls, you did it without magic. Instead of investigating why the minotaur was even there and why the girls were left defenseless with. Also, what kind of lesson is it that you give them back their power after just one day? For like the gravity of the stuff that they did? Like, it makes no sense. Well, not only does it make no sense, but also, how does she revoke their powers if someone's powers can't be taken away unless like she locks it? Like, the whole mechanic of it is not really explained, especially with what happens later in the storyline with Bloom. Like, why does this, in this moment in time, she can take away their powers and then afterwards no person can take your powers away? You know, they don't really explain the distinctions. I will be nice about it and assume that she was not taking their powers away, even though like the imagery literally shows their magic going away, but that she was sealing it within them so that they could not use it. Let's just say that is what happened. You compare Faragonda's reactions to the Winx doing some illegal things to Griffin, the Tricks doing the same thing, with the addition that they also fought the Winx, and that Faragonda kind of like one-shotted them in her nightrobe, which I found the moment funny, but that's the only highlight I will allow for Faragonda, because all of the rest that happened I strongly disagree with. Griffin expels them from the school for what they did, and the Winx got 1 day of such a light punishment. That's not even that disciplinary. Oh no, you're just like going to be grounded at home, and they end up inviting the specialist too. Like, obviously they haven't learned their lessons. The show will want us to believe that she's a good headmistress and Griselda is the mean one that always wants to punish the Winx. It's like, they deserve punishment for what they did. Like, they need to learn the consequences of their actions. Like, that's not something you do. Then you have this whole storyline whereas Faragonda slowly reveals Bloom's past to her, not being entirely sure of who she is, but having very strong suspicions, and so trying to, you know, help her out and in figuring stuff out. Also banning all of the books that mention Daphne in the library, but that is another thing. I think it was in my first video. A comment, I will put it on the screen, kindly told me that those scenes were removed from the 4Kids version, which, if I'm not mistaken, came after, like, you know, it was like a revision, so it happened afterwards, probably when other seasons were already out, and then it would make more sense for Faragonda not to actually, you know, meddle in this. That's not the version I watched, and I'm only going from the version I watched and the version that is on YouTube too, because that's where I rewatched it. Faragonda slowly gives her little crumbs. Not enough for Bloom to actually have an answer. And I'm like, what are you doing it for? Especially, spoilers for those who haven't seen, after season 1 of Winx Club, we know that Faragonda knows Bloom's parents. And you're trying to tell me that Bloom is not the exact same as her mother. Like, Bloom looks exactly like her bio mom. She is the exact age of the baby that disappeared. The Princess of the Middle. And this wouldn't, like... Anyways. So these are my grievances with Faragonda. The last bit, the most important bit, I think we could argue that, is when the Tricks take away the dragon flame from Bloom and are now spreading havoc on Magix. And how utterly useless are the teachers who are teaching students how to become protectors, how to wield magic, how to wield swords, that kind of thing. Like, from Coda Torta to Saladin in, like, Red Fountain, to Griselda and Faragonda in Alfea. They fight so little and contribute so little. The main force, attack power, defense is done by the students who have not graduated, who are minors, mind you. The teachers are always one step behind the students when it comes to reacting. Like, students engage first, and then like a few minutes afterwards you see like teachers starting to chip in, and I'm like, what? And also the headmasters, and I'm mainly talking about Saladin and Faragonda, use magic so little to actually protect their students. And like, late after the fight actually started, like, it's inconceivable. And what is the rest of the magical dimension doing when there's like a war basically going on in Magix, and students minus all like the front line, no one is sending soldiers, like nothing. Like, what about the students' families? Like, this isn't explained at all. And you could think, oh, maybe like the Tricks like made it so no connection or no, you know, help from the other dimensions could happen, but that is completely false because we see Diaspro coming with Heraklion soldiers at some point to help out Sky, but then he refuses and they go away. So clearly, the magical dimension is aware of what's happening. No one is sending any forces. Why are there no alumni from Cloud Tower, Red Fountain, Alfea, people who actually graduated and whose job it is to protect the magical dimension? Why are they not coming and helping? The only grace I will give to those adults that are supposed to not only teach but protect these students, especially from magical threats, I will give to Griffin, because when the Tricks come take control of Cloud Tower, she actually managed to somewhat protect her students and the staff, even though she was outpowered by the Tricks, she still did something. But then when they go to Alfea, she starts, just chatting with Faragonda, and I'm like, she was so cool in Cloud Tower and trying to stand against the Tricks or taking them by surprise, and then she's up to Alfea now. She's just like chatting with her friend. That was disappointing. They send off the Winx and the Specialist to like dangerous missions without no adult supervision. And also, will we talk about the fact that they don't track their students? Like, they don't know what's going on with their students at all. Riven's disappearance, no mention of it. Like, they did not think, oh, one of our students missing, something's wrong, let's go rescue him. Like, nothing. And then when Bloom chooses to run away from all of her problems, you can see what I think about it when I say it like this, but, we'll talk about it in Bloom's episode. Faragonda is like telling the Winx, why didn't you tell us that Bloom is gone? Isn't that your job as the adult in the situation to know where your students are? Like, why? Granted, they live in a dorm, but like, it's not their job to make sure their friend is safe. It's your responsibility. Like, my mind was blown when this happened. There are problems with the authority figures in Winx Club, and it's mainly to make the Winx shine more, but also it's like, what kind of like terrible message are you giving off to children who are watching this? Mainly young girls, but boys too. Like, you're telling them that adults are useless and you just need to deal with your own problems somehow, and like get into dangerous situations because, no one's gonna come and help you as they should. Like, that is... And at the end, when the Winx defeat the Tricks, they just like magic lock them into some sort of like prison cell, and then send the Tricks off to like Lake Rukaluche to be... I wrote this down because I was like, this is... to a purification retreat. They are terrorists. Second-gen ancestral witches kind of evil. And your whole solution to this, instead of like jail or whatever, is let's just send them to like a retreat. What? Like, that's the solution? Anyways, I think I talked about all of my grievances, my issues with the authorities in Winx Club. The fact that the Winx aren't being protected in the least, they are not being supported, they are not being guided properly. Adults are just there, like in the background. Can you believe that Nut, an antagonist at the beginning of season 1, has been more useful and helpful to the Winx than any of the adults in the universe has been? Think about that, really. And that is my problem with the portrayal of authority in Winx Club, is that is not what children should be shown or should learn, because children have to be protected. And when you're you know, producing kids shows like this. And you might think, oh yeah, I'm reaching a little bit, but like, think about it. If your only true like experience is watching through movies, and like I will say, the media we consume influences us a lot, and then we build images in our heads of like what the reality is like. If all of the kids show just portray adults just never helping, you know, or like not doing their jobs as adults, what kind of conceptions of authority, of adult, of being a child do children make for themselves? Tell me what you think about this if you have made it the whole way through this video. I know that I have been quite fired up compared to usual. I did warn you in the beginning that I would be a little bit more, you know, feisty in this video. As I said, I was a teacher, still am in terms of mindset, and that is like, I just hate what's going on in Winx Club season 1, and unfortunately also in like later seasons, because this is not just a season 1 exclusive. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you have, do drop a comment to tell me that you have made it the whole way through the video. Bop the like button, it really helps with the algorithm, and you know, give the subscribe button some attention and join me in my journey to becoming Bamboo. You know, we're like at 67 subscribers at moment of filming, so yeah, it would be great if we could like reach 100 subscribers. I would like to do like some kind of a special video for that, but I don't really know what I would do exactly. But yeah, it would be cool, wouldn't it?